Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach, and today we're privileged to have with us Joseph Michelli, who is a Wall Street Journal and New York Times best-selling author. Joseph, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Hey, so I was looking at your bio, and I want to kind of get to know you, and then we talk about your latest book here. And I was looking at a phrase that you have, like your certified customer experience consultant, and I looked at, or professional, and I wanted to make sure that was a thing, and lo and behold, that's a thing. It's not one of those monikers, like the chief mastery officer, the people that come up with some fun little things, but this is a real thing, and I love that because people tend to ignore it. So give us a little bit about your background. Let's talk about customer experience and your latest book.
Yeah, so I was doing customer service before we had this thing even called customer experience, but thanks to Gilmore and Pine in about 1999, we all started talking about the experience economy, and then we all started talking about customer experience, and the verbiage changed, and then somewhere down the road, a bunch of my colleagues got together and said, if this is a thing, we better certify it and create some standards for behavior on what it takes to be a consultant in this space and help organizations deliver better customer experiences. So the Customer Experience Professionals Association was developed, and then they did certification trainings and verifications of competencies, and thus the certification these days. So, so my background starts in healthcare in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I was a clinical psychologist working at Penrose St. Francis Healthcare System there. The Catholics merged with the Seventh-day Adventists, and that was an exciting time for coming up with how they were going to bring their cultures together to deliver a great patient experience. And I was an organizational development specialist, kind of got into healthcare administration then, and looked at that from the standpoint of what was then called customer service or patient service. And then from there, got into consulting outside of healthcare, worked with a variety of companies, wrote about them, books about companies that I've worked with, like Mercedes-Benz, for example, and that's where we are today, consulting, writing, and speaking.
And all focused on the customer experience.
Yeah. This notion that the perception of your customer across every touch point, whether it's people, process, or technology, that is what determines success of businesses today. It's not just pure product, and it's not just consistency of service. There's an emotional tenor that has to be in the way you deliver your brand.
Well, me just hearing that makes me think of something, and maybe this is just second nature to you, but I feel like customer experience versus customer service is so different, and you feel like back in the 80s, 90s, customer service, that was the big thing, let's serve the customer. But customer experience, in my opinion, would take it to the next level where it's like we're going past just serving. Serving is like being an order taker, next. And then now the experience is, what do they feel? And like the Maya Angelou quote, people don't care what you say, but they care about how you make them feel. So maybe that experience takes it to the next level. And if you're focused on that, doesn't that pull you and draw you to make those touch points all the way through from the time they call in or click on your website all the way to getting the product and beyond? So talk a little bit about the difference between the service and then the experience.
Well, the way you set up that question, if I could bestow the customer experience certification on you right now, I think I would, right? Like, it was that easy because it was so well articulated in terms of kind of where the challenge and the opportunity is for businesses in the 21st century. So, yeah, it is different than, service. Service, can also be equated with servitude. Service can be the complaint department for an organization. It has a lot of baggage. And really, the goal of customer experience is to design experiences that are credible, relevant, unique, durable for your core customer segments so that they're able to feel loved by you, not just liked by you or an object of financial gain, and really loved by you in the sense that you're trying to help them grow, develop, and succeed. And if you do those things, then they give you back love in the form of loyalty, repurchases, and even some super high kind of love called referrals. Yeah. So, I think the goal is now to say, how do we design this around our customer? Because the days of forcing your customer to do it your way are gone, when we can just slide our fingertips and have a universal choice. So yeah, that's kind of the evolution that great businesses are on.
Yeah, I would think that we can go on for hours on end on just that one point, but let's talk about innovation, because I know that the books you write about, the companies you write about, the Ritz-Carltons and the Mercedes and the Starbucks, all would kind of have that common thread. And the Airbnb, the new book you have. Well, let's talk about how it's so important to understand the customer value first so that you can innovate so that they can have that customer experience.
All right, I'm going to sound really wonky and academic for a moment, right? But there's this guy by the name of Martek who had this law, and it essentially says that most businesses get better a little at a time, incrementally. But that oftentimes there'll be something that happens in society, and customers will go on this exponential journey using some kind of technology. And if organizations don't adapt their business to where the customers are going with their behavior, there is this place that Martek's law says is the disruptor zone. And so what you see a lot of the brands that you just riffed off and the kinds that we tend to write about, they're really studying what are customer trends, not just what customers tell us they want, but what is customer behavior doing and how's it changing. So if you take an Airbnb, there are a couple of trends that are really relevant, right? So on the one hand, mobile technology, the mobile marketplace, buy everything at the tip of your fingers. And then this concept that more and more millennials are wanting experiences over new products. And if they're going to use products, they're frequently willing to use shared products or repurposed products. So you put those two trends together, you get this disruptive brand that launches in 2008 that basically creates a digital marketplace in the shared economy. And now, some 10 years later, the company is valued at $38 billion, which is right on par with a company like Marriott, whose valuation at $40 billion is probably linked as much to its properties as it is to its overall brand equity.
Yeah, you think about, hey, what business is McDonald's in? And you're like, well, hamburgers. And you're like, nope, real estate. And same as with the Marriott. You know, if you look at their numbers deeper, wow, what a interesting Airbnb comparison, or even in the Uber comparison, where it's like, you know what, we're creating these disruptions where we're not owning the cars, the real estate, but we're owning the experience and the connection. And I think that's a really innovative thought. So what would make you then think about writing a book on innovation, disruption, and then now let's look at Airbnb, because they are very similar to the Ritz-Carltons and the Marriotts of the world?
So in 2008, I wrote a book about the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. It was the standard of what hospitality looked like in the world. It was the shining star of greatness. And they were trying to change because they had some baggage of a customer experience that was very refined but unapproachable and somewhat stuffy. So they were really in this journey to become more contemporized in 2008. I was writing all about it. Same time I'm writing about it, there's three guys in San Francisco with air mattresses, renting out those air mattresses for $80 a night and giving their customers, uncooked Pop-Tarts with some orange juice, right? And from there, and iterations of their web design, they now have displaced, as a standard bearer for what we think of as kind of the new way of experiencing end-to-end travel in off-the-grid ways. They've kind of displaced some of the traditional hotel arrangements. So it was a no-brainer for me, like a decade later, to say, hospitality has changed, but so has almost every other sector, thanks to the shared economy and mobile technology.
And when you think about what you just described, and by the way, is the air mattress and Pop-Tart is that actually how they started off? Because I don't know that.
Straight up, yeah. There's two design students in San Francisco couldn't make rent when their roommate moved out, and so they knew a design conference was coming into town, and they created a little website targeted to the design conference attendees, offering up the spare room with 3 air mattresses.
Wow.
You could stay there $80 a night for the span of the conference, and that's how it started.
And here we go, yeah. Well, you think about traditional expectations, or like we were saying earlier about service versus experience. I think that it's you mentioned the millennials, and it's the shared economy and all of the mindsets that are different. But there is a really big cadre of the sector of all of us that we prefer things that we're used to. So what are you finding is causing and allowing that shift to continue, where it's like, I need to go and take this trip. I'm going to go to whatever my favorite web booking site is, find this hotel, boom, boom, boom. What is it that makes someone go, this is something that I'm going to try, that Airbnb, and because I know it's a little different, and I know it's not the front desk and the send up towels experience, but what would make people think to do that, and what is cause of that to grow, in your opinion?
So I think as a rule, human beings have evolved to want greater personalization and greater convenience than any time in history. In my era, I would be willing to stand in line to check out of a store. Now, thanks to Amazon Go, you don't, just walk out technology. You never have to stand in line because everything could be done just from beacons and other, technology. So that makes it so that I don't want to stand in line. So my time starts to become of equal value to money. So, time becomes a currency. So if you start thinking about that, you start seeing people who are saying, if I'm going to invest my time in something, then I want to be able to have a story to tell about it because I want it to be unique to my person. I want to be able to share that story into my social. And so you start seeing people saying, I don't want to be in that same 350 square foot hotel room cookie cutter that I go to every single time I'm on the road. I don't want to have to be in that, that same environment where all of the conventions are. I want to go and I want to experience and live local. I want to see what it's like to be a local in a given town. And I think it's a combination of that. Hey, I need a story to tell, and I don't want to invest my time in something that doesn't give me a personal experience.
It's interesting you say story to tell because as you were saying that, I was thinking, ooh, unique to my person. That's a nice little, put a pin in that. And then it's kind of like the rage today in marketing and sales is storytelling, and you tied those two together. It kind of reminds me of, remember that old commercial? I want to say it was Amco Transmissions where it's like, I've got a guy. And I feel like people want to be in the know and they want to connect and they want to say, oh, you've got to do this. And like to your point about the water cooler talk or the Monday morning, what'd you do this weekend? You will not believe this place that I went. And they want to have that unique experience. And speak a little bit about that because it kind of ties to even your personal psychological, what motivates you, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And, in the Airbnb book, we spent a lot of time talking about the fact that beneath all of this is kind of Maslowian theory that says we all have a need for belonging, right? Like we need to belong. That's a higher need than just need for food or shelter. And so a lot of this brand opportunity is to say we want to create belong anywhere. And that's really at the core of the brand. And so we're facilitating a network of hosts. We're trying to get them aligned on a vision that we can create this opportunity for no matter who you are, no matter where you travel, you feel a sense of belonging. Now, that doesn't necessarily happen when I check into a hotel. It doesn't always happen at Airbnb. It's kind of dependent upon the quality of the host. But when a host does it well, they can say, welcome, Mike, to this place. And hosting is a noble, honorable opportunity for us to bring together more of our commonalities than our differences. Hosts welcome a person with fullness and embrace them as having a sense of belonging in a space. And so that's really and they create an experience around their guests. So that is kind of, I think, at the heart of what makes this work when it works at its best. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us, whether you're hosting a podcast as you are now, or we're hosting somebody on our website or in our business, or even hosting them into the invitation to consider us in a marketing sense. Hosting is critical and being able to say, you're in the right place.
Yeah, yeah. And, I love the and I know the term is used so often, but disruption and disruptor and all of that. But it's that mindset of, here's how we've been doing things, but why don't we try to be the biggest, like the Airbnbs, no hotel, no real estate, the Ubers, no vehicles, nothing like that. And it makes me think of the mindset that has now gotten into the home improvement industry. Have you seen the show Cash Pad?
Yes.
I love the concept, love the show too, but it's just so neat to go, fix and flip. Let's buy a house, let's put money into it, let's hope to sell it and make a profit. But these people come through and do the Uber and Airbnb concept of, we don't need to own it. We're just going to come in and we're going to partner with the owner of this unique property. We're going to fix it up and we're going to share in the revenue and we're going to do all the work, and the owner wins, we win, and so do the people being hosted. So I love that concept that we're talking about here.
Yeah, and it's just happening in all kinds of sectors. Increasingly, if you want a gown for the prom, you don't go buy it; you rent it from somebody who bought it, right? I mean, it's a whole new mindset out there about it, and I think mindset is that is a very important thing. In the Airbnb world, they do a lot of Carol Dweck's work out of Stanford University on open mindset and constantly push the envelope of what do we need to do to challenge what we think is true with real data about what we're seeing and hearing from consumers.
Is she the one that did the TED Talk talking about the superhero pose?
Yes, she is the queen of open mindset.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, so let's wrap up with this thought. Not everybody can be Airbnb, Uber, and all of these disruptor, unique experience type of businesses. So let's break it down to the business leader, to the entrepreneur. What are some nuggets of truth that they can pull out of Airbnb and go, okay, I can use this element, I can use this nugget in my business to, just kind of put some spark in, not to transform their business to that model, but just what are some lessons that they can learn?
Yeah, so I would say, and this tags on to something you said earlier too, Mike, is that what business are you in? So the business you're in is the people business. You may be serving coffee, as Howard Schultz was, but you're in the people business serving coffee, not in the coffee business serving people. I think being really clear you're in the people business is a good start. Because you're in the people business, you're in the perception business. And if you're in the perception business, you need to look at the perceptions of your customers across their journey with your brand and all the high-value touch points and execute there. What do you want people to feel at those high-value touch points? Those are some good starting points, I think, to this entire thing. And once you get past that level, then you can go another level deeper in the way you approach your business.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's think about this now on the flip side. What is some mistake that a business or a leader would make and go, oh, yeah, I've got this, and then they start doing it, but then they're doing it wrong?
Yeah, I think most of the time it is a lack of true empathy for the customer. It's designing it to make it functional for the business. I mean, you definitely have to make it, this is an ecosystem, right? So at some level you have to make it that you can deliver or else it falls apart and your people can't be asked to do more than what they can do, and some businesses fail on that side. But most of the time what happens is these businesses are developed for the business to operate, and there isn't a co-creation of how do we make it maximally easy for our customers. So if I had to say one thing to every business leader, it's today, say, what can I do to make my business easier for my customer to get their needs met than it was yesterday? And if you continually pursue that, you're going to stay really close to your customer. You're going to look at your processes carefully, and you're going to evolve in ways that most of your competitors won't.
Yeah. And you used a really great word, empathy, and it kind of made me think about in marketing and I know you know this phrase, but cause marketing, like I feel like Tom Shoes was the ones that kind of pioneered that concept, buy one, give one, and causes. And there's a lot of research behind that. But I feel like if you don't have empathy behind that cause marketing, you're just doing it for another sales gimmick, oh, I'm going to do this. And then it falls flat. People feel like you're just not really doing it to help out the end result. So I think that your point right here is, yes, that empathy for that consumer, they can feel it, kind of like the dog that can, sense that you're full. I think customers can tell that we're just doing it for checking the box.
Yeah, if you really don't care about people, just putting a lot of pink on Breast Cancer Month does not necessarily shine
good.
through, right?
Yeah, that's a good example. Super. Well, let's wrap up. How can people reach out, connect with you, learn about your speaking, your events, your books, and purchase a copy of your latest book on Airbnb?
So through October the 16th, we're still in pre-launch on the Airbnb book. So anybody who goes to 800CEO-READ/Airbnb, puts in the code word thanks, we'll get them a sizable discount and invite them to a webinar. If you happen to be interested in the book after that, you can go to airbnbway.com. We have a contest that we're running there. We're sending a couple people to San Francisco and go to Airbnb headquarters, and there's no purchase necessary. And the contest runs through the 16th. So you can go to airbnbway.com and check out the contest, enter to win. And there'll still be information about the book even after the pre-order phase.
Excellent. Sounds neat. Thank you so much, Joseph, for your time. It was great talking about some of these wonderful topics, and I enjoyed having you on.
You're an awesome host, Mike. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.